discipline that makes people go silent when they see you. They can feel it before you even speak. That unshakable presence that says you've beaten comfort, excuses, and hesitation. Everyone admires it, but very few understand what it takes to get there. You've seen those people who never seem to fail. The ones who wake up every morning with the same fire, the same schedule, the same drive. While others burn out after a few weeks, they just keep going. It almost feels unnatural, like they've tapped into something otherworldly. What if I told you there is an ancient system designed to create exactly that kind of unstoppable focus? A method so powerful that it turns effort into instinct. The Zen monks in Japan call it guji, the practice that perpetuates itself. It's not about trying harder. It's about transforming the part of you that wants to quit. And once you understand it, discipline will stop being something you do and start being something you are. But before we dive into how it works, you must understand that this level of mastery isn't free. To become unbreakable, you must first destroy a part of yourself that feeds on comfort and chaos. There was a man named Raphael, a programmer, intelligent, successful, but always fighting with himself. He wanted to change. He wanted structure, progress, growth, but no matter how many times he started something new, he never lasted. He'd hit the gym for a few weeks, meditate for a few days, read a book for 3 pages, then drift back to his old patterns. The cycle never ended. Motivation on Monday, negotiation on Wednesday, surrender by Friday, and empty promises by Sunday night. A3 apps, reminders, accountability partners, everything, but nothing stuck. The truth was, Raphael wasn't fighting laziness. He was fighting his own brain's design, a mind built to avoid discomfort at all costs. Then one day, almost by accident, he came across a strange old teaching from Zen temples in Japan. A rule so simple it almost sounded ridiculous. Guji, continuous practice without gaps, every single day since the year 12. Monks in the high tempo have woken up at exactly 3:30 a.m. Not 3:25, not 3:35, exactly 3:30. No monk ever lies in bed thinking, should I get up today? That question doesn't even exist in their minds, because they understand something most people never realize: the difference between a choice and an identity. Your brain places every action into one of 2 boxes: reversible or irreversible. If something feels reversible, you'll always find a reason to skip it. But when something becomes irreversible, your brain no longer negotiates, it simply obeys. When a monk takes his vows before the community, he doesn't make a promise to try. He changes his identity completely. He isn't trying to meditate. He is a meditator. There's no exit door left open. Raphael realized he had been making private promises all his life, and that's why they were easy to break. So he did something terrifying. He made his commitment public. He wrote on paper, "I am a person who meditates 20 minutes every morning at 5 a.m. for 90 days. He signed it, posted it online, and told everyone he knew. His girlfriend laughed. His co-workers called him dramatic. But that was exactly the point. Every time someone knew, the pressure grew. Every time he thought of quitting, he imagined having to admit it to all of them. The pain of quitting became heavier than the pain of discipline. And on the 3rd morning, when his alarm screamed at 5 a.m., his mind tried every excuse. You're tired. 1 day off. Won't matter. You can start tomorrow. But something inside him refused. He wasn't a man trying anymore. He was a man becoming. That morning, his discipline wasn't about willpower. It was about identity. The next weeks were a war. His mind fought, his body resisted, but something was shifting. He started noticing that decisions were his enemy. Every day, the question, when should I do this, was draining his energy. So he fixed his hour to 5 a.m. every day, no matter what. Not because he loved mornings, but because the world was quiet then. No texts, no calls, no distractions. This wasn't about optimization. It was about elimination, removing every reason to delay. At first, it was torture. Every morning felt like climbing a mountain. But by the 2nd week, his body began preparing before his alarm even rang. By the 14th day, he was out of bed before he was even conscious of the decision. No thought, no argument, just movement. That's when Raphael understood something profound. Discipline becomes freedom when you stop giving yourself a choice. But soon, a new battle began. His time was fixed, but his mind found a loophole. Some mornings he'd meditate, other days he'd read, sometimes he'd just stretch or do push-ups. His brain had switched the battlefield. It wasn't asking when anymore. Now it was asking what. He had solved the schedule, but not the structure. That's when he discovered the second principle of Zen forms. Dogen, the great Zen teacher, wrote that forms must be repeated exactly until the mind surrenders. Because variety, though exciting, is where consistency dies. Every new choice opens the door for your old self to sneak back in. So Raphael did something extreme. He locked his routine completely. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes meditation, 10 minutes reading. In the same order. Every single morning. No changes, no debates, no flexibility. His girlfriend said he was being robotic. His friends said he was taking it too far. But he wasn't chasing motivation. He was erasing resistance. By the third week, Raphael's mind began to rebel. Every morning, the same voice whispered inside his head. You're not a robot. You need variety, teases boarding. You're burning out. But every time he ignored that voice, something incredible happened. The noise grew weaker. His body began to move before his mind could interfere. He realized something. Most people never do. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to act. It's about training your body to move without permission. The more he repeated the same steps, the more his mind surrendered to habit. His willpower wasn't increasing. It was becoming unnecessary. By the 6th week, he would wake up and complete half his push-ups before realizing he'd even started. That's when he finally understood the truth about consistency. It's not built through motivation. It's built through automation. True mastery begins when you no longer think, you just do. But life wasn't going to make it easy. On the 35th day, Raphael caught the flu. His body begged him to skip. On the 40th, he had to travel for work. He told himself, this is reasonable. I'm sick. I'm busy. It's fine to take a break. But then he remembered Dogen's words, practice must continue without even a moment of gap. For in that gap, the old self returns. That single idea hit him like lightning. He realized the danger wasn't in missing one day. It was in opening the door to the old pattern that destroyed everything before. If he skipped now, he wouldn't just miss a session. He'd wake up the next morning as the same man he used to be, inconsistent, weak, full of excuses. So he refused to create that gap. At the airport, he did push-ups in the bathroom while people stared. He meditated in the Uber. He read his book on the plane. It wasn't perfect, but it was continuous. And that was all that mattered. For the first time in his life, Raphael felt something stronger than motivation. Momentum. He realized that perfection was the biggest lie he'd ever believed. The idea that if you can't do something perfectly, you shouldn't do it at all. The lie had killed more dreams than failure ever could. He used to think, if I can't meditate for 20 minutes, I skip today. But na, ek new. Even 1 minute was still progress, because the moment you stop, you're no longer practicing. You're remembering what practice used to feel like. He compared it to a river. Even when the water slows to a trickle, it's still alive. But the moment it stops completely, it's no longer a river. It's a grave. Raphael swore he'd never let his river stop flowing again. As the days passed, he started noticing something strange. People around him began reacting differently. His co-workers said he was becoming obsessive. His girlfriend said his discipline wasn't healthy anymore. Friends told him to take a break, to be normal. But Raphael smiled, because now he understood what that meant. When your focus makes other people uncomfortable, it's because it reflects the part of them that has given up. They don't hate your discipline, they fear it. His transformation was visible. He wasn't talking about goals anymore. He was living them. His routine wasn't something he forced, it was who he was. But there was still one challenge left. The unexpected. Because no matter how disciplined you are, life will always find a way to test you. Your car breaks down, your child gets sick, your boss keeps you late, your energy runs low. These aren't coincidences. They're the universe's way of asking, do you really mean it? Raphael knew these moments were coming, so he prepared for them. He sat down one night and wrote every possible obstacle that could break his consistency. Rain, sickness, guests, travel, exhaustion. And for each, he created if it rains, I train in the garage. If guests are home, I meditate quietly in the bathroom. If I'm sick, I'll do 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, and read 1 page. No matter what happens, I will still move forward. He removed decision-making from the equation, because decisions under stress always lead to weakness, and he was done being weak. This pre-solving became his secret weapon. Each time something unexpected happened, the answer was already waiting. There was no hesitation, no wasted energy, no mental argument. He had turned life's chaos into a script. And this, Raphael discovered, was what the monks had been practicing for centuries. Earthquakes, wars, floods, no matter what happened, the bell still rang at 3:30 a.m., and the monks still meditated. They didn't make decisions when the crisis came. They made them long before. That's why their discipline survived everything. And now, Raphael's did too. By the 70th day, he was barely thinking about the process. He would wake up, move, complete his sequence, and get on with his day without even realizing it. His body had taken full command. Sometimes, he'd open his eyes and realize the push-ups were already done. Other times, he'd find himself meditating without any conscious effort. It was like his soul had finally taken the wheel. He wasn't just keeping a promise, he was living a law. This was more than a routine now. It was transformation in its purest form. The boy who used to chase motivation was gone. The man who woke up before dawn wasn't chasing change. He had become change itself. His discipline was something others could imitate because it was built on tricks or hacks. It was built on death. The death of his weaker self. The death of negotiation. The death of the old identity that always gave up when things got hard. What was born in its place wasn't motivation. It was inevitability. By day 70, Raphael wasn't the same man anymore. The noise in his head had quieted down. The voice that once said you can't had grown tired of being ignored. His mornings had become sacred. No scrolling, no delays, no overthinking. Just action. He didn't even feel proud anymore. He just felt still. That S, when he understood the deeper truth of Guji. The real victory of discipline, Yisanti control, its freedom. The more rules he built, the lighter he felt. The less he allowed himself to choose, the easier life became. He didn't waste time on motivation because he didn't need it. His identity had rewritten itself. When friends called him crazy for waking up early or skipping parties, he smiled because they couldn't see what he saw. They thought he was sacrificing fun, but he was trading it for something far greater. On day 90, Raphael didn't celebrate. There was no finish line, no reward. He simply woke up, meditated, and carried on. That's when he realized this wasn't a challenge anymore. It was his nature. The system had consumed him completely. He had become Guji. And that is the moment, UV crossed over. When discipline stops, feeling like effort, and starts feeling like identity. He looked back at his journey and laughed. All those years chasing hacks and motivation videos, all those resets and fresh starts, none of them mattered. The secret was never to get inspired. It was to remove the option of failure. He thought about those monks waking up at 3:30 a.m., repeating the same chants and movements for years. Now he understood them. They weren't chasing progress. They were erasing hesitation. That's what real discipline is. The death of hesitation. When you stop asking, should I, and simply move, your life changes shape. You start to see that discipline isn't about being strong every day. It's about never needing strength to begin with. Raphael's story spread online, but most people missed the real lesson. They thought he found some secret trick, but the truth was simpler. He killed the weaker version of himself through repetition. He didn't wait to feel ready. He just acted until his body and mind obeyed without question. That's what Guji means. Practice without gaps. Action without pause. Motion without end. And here's the paradox. When you live like that, people start to fear you. Not because you're dangerous, but because you ray onto kavle. You become someone who can't be manipulated by comfort or broken by excuses. Your silence becomes heavy. Your focus becomes intimidating. You don't talk about what you'll do, you just do it. And every day, you add another layer of steel to your mind. Until one morning, you realize the person you used to be, the one full of doubt and weakness, doesn't exist anymore. You've outgrown him. That's what true discipline does. It doesn't make you superhuman. It makes you unshakable. It turns pain into structure, repetition into strength, and time into transformation. That's the kind of discipline that doesn't impress people. It terrifies them. Because when your consistency becomes unbreakable, you stop living like everyone else. You start living like someone who doesn't need to prove anything. And that, Johnny, is the moment when discipline is no longer something you do it. It's simply who you are.